Well, we're an hour into this program, and for once, they do something perfectly. Because at the top of the hour, right at 9 o'clock, when people are going to be switching around looking for something to watch, here comes CM Punk. With Tony Schiavone in the ring. Big chants, big pops. He's over. The people like him. Tony Schiavone was wearing fluorescent orchid-colored pants. I don't know why. Maybe there were pajamas. Did they wake Tony up? Did he walk away from a state home? It was a little distracting, but nevertheless, suddenly the show turns big time. A guy that's over that you recognize that comes out and has the ability to speak and is interviewed by an announcer without a sock on his head. It was the second show in a row he had a great opening line because they're chanting so loud for him. Tony asks him the question, and he says, "I can't hear you, Tony." And he gets a laugh from the people. It seems like he's having fun, but at the same time, he's relaxed. He's got a message to deliver. He was actually being interviewed by Tony Schiavone, who held the microphone the whole way. Because the athlete is being interviewed by the announcer. And Tony got to ask a couple of questions. And Punk retired the voice of the voiceless because this place has a voice. Classic babyface material. And then he mentioned that he wondered if he could still go like these young guys. Darby Allin in particular. He put Darby Allin over. If I was 15 years old, he'd be the guy that'd be my favorite wrestler. This is obviously Punk's material, speaking from the heart about what he wants to say. And yes, there's an element of working in it because he's selling a match, but you can't tell the difference between what his real feelings are and what he's saying on television, which is the fucking point. Some of it he means both. Some of it he means one way. Some of it he means the other, but which and what is it? Anyway, did you like it when the people started chanting yes? And he said, hey, that's somebody else's deal. You're going to have to be a little more patient. Big Pop there didn't throw him off.
He played it off perfectly.
Played it perfectly. Then he plugged the pay-per-view and said hello to his wife. Great fucking the only thing he did that I couldn't believe he did and I wouldn't have done, he went around the front row hugging and slapping hands. In a pandemic. He must be convinced of his immune system. But otherwise than that, this could have been on Raw back when Raw was good. This could have been on any wrestling program anywhere. It would have worked. And he's run off with this thing in a week. Anyway, what'd you think?
It's the highlight of the show. It's a star coming out there, delivering something and not leaving you disappointed. And in a very short period of time, I went from never thinking about this potential match to being intrigued by seeing him against Darby. Because obviously it means something to him. He picked Darby for his first opponent. We've heard the reason. Some of it's kayfabe, some of it's legit. If I was a kid, I'd like Darby. I'm really interested in that match. CM Punk's first match back in all these years against Darby Allin. The one guy who, you have to say, he's not a big guy. He lays everything in. Everything with him looks good. He's serious in his role. I don't know how much of that's real life. But everything with Punk so far...
With somebody leading him and making sure that he doesn't do anything just crazy psychologically, he's tremendous. And a lot of people said, well, I'm not excited by this being Punk's first match. Could have been Punk and Danielson or Punk and Twinkle Toes or whatever. It's a long-term deal. We don't know what the term, but they've said long-term. He's here. He's back. He's not going anywhere. So you don't need to rush the dream matches. When Vince signs Brock and he's going to get X million dollars per match, and for 3 matches in 12 months, you've got to hit the fucking high spots. You got to play the hits there. But if Punk's going to be around, he can start out with this and guess what? Actually get some fucking victories so that he qualifies for championship matches or main events or whatever the fuck. Now, if Darby Allin wins this, that's a drastic mistake of doing that too soon. If he's going to be around for a while, Punk, he's got plenty of time to make people, not in his first match, but he'll make Darby Allin look probably better than anybody else has. And because there'll be so much interest in the match, people will be paying more attention to Darby Allin. And that's the point. It's not just whether you win, it's who puts you over and how.
I wouldn't be surprised if something happens where maybe coming out of the match they are kind of aligned together, because I can't see Punk fighting with Sting right now. And
I would sincerely hope that CM Punk would know that there should be no fisticuffs between him and Sting.
Yeah, and obviously it would be the stupidest thing ever to turn him heel right now with all of this love going on. Maybe he comes out of the match and, there's a couple of heels or a heel that singles out Punk, and then all of a sudden you have Punk and Darby aligned. But let me ask you this, because I was wondering about it. We talked about the paternity end of it, or the paternity leave end of it. Adam Page not winning the title from Omega at All Out like so many people assumed was going to happen. Does it make a little more sense now? Does it make it a little more palatable? The idea that, do you want to have that match where Omega finally loses the title to Adam Page on the same show with the Punk debut?
Well, I mean, we're making a leap there. We know that the match was originally intended to be on the pay-per-view. I think everybody's admitted that, and that was changed. We don't know what the result was going to be, whether he was actually going to win the title. I think it made him look like a spare prick at the wedding to just not get the match. And I don't know, obviously this was a booking decision for him not to get that match and not the paternity leave thing, because my God, one night on pay-per-view for a world title match, you can hop on a fucking plane and go somewhere and wrestle and come back to your, new baby. Well, you could do that, even, for heaven's sake. Of course, you wouldn't do a job for anybody. But the point is,
that's true.
Did they change the whole booking plan and take this match out because they didn't want Page to win the belt in that match? That I think it would have been better, because it's not like they don't do screwy finishes. I think it would have been better for him to have that match and be fucked in it, and then go back home to his paternity leave, and instead of just being laid out on TV, written out of that match, and who knows how long before he gets any rebuttal. That's just again another example of burying Adam Page, or demeaning him, or diminishing him, or whatever the fuck. Sooner or later, people get tired of somebody chasing something that they don't get, and they don't even get close to. So I think it would have been better if they'd have had that match, yes, and let fucking Twinkle Toes and his gang fuck Page, and maybe do an injury thing so that he can go home and be with his baby. But at least you've given him some reason besides he got his ass kicked on television. Last we saw him, and we haven't seen him again. So he took his ass kicking and went home. Punked out. No pun intended. I don't think that did Page any good. It just disappear after he got his ass handed to him. But I mean, it's not like any of these baby faces act like baby faces. It's not like any of these heels act like heels. So that's why we're in the position we're in. Speaking of which, the next match was Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston, and Darby Allin with Sting in their corner against poor Ryan Nemeth, Cesar Romero, and J.D. Drake, the Wingmen. And J.D. Drake was dressed like Big Bubba Rogers, or Roadkill, for another generation. This is just a Mark booking, because you put three baby faces of yours together, even though they have no similarities and nothing bonding them, just to put them on the show. And obviously I fast forwarded this, although I did see during the speed search, because at least this wasn't on the cock. Moxley even goes to the floor with the job guys. And apparently Sting and Moxley and Kingston were in the crowd beating up the job guy heels in a fucking regular cold match, while Darby beat J.D. Drake. And then this Danny Garcia, my God, he's everywhere. He jumped Darby Allin and kicked the shit out of him. Who does Daniel Garcia have pictures of with a donkey in Tijuana?
Maybe it's a dog in England.
The wanker? Hey, this, again, I'm not even knocking this guy, but we have had major wrestling stars turn up on this program in this promotion, and you see them once every 6 weeks. Christian Cage came into all the fanfare, had one big TV match, and then weeks afterwards, he's doing promos in the back for Jungle Boy. And I mentioned MJF. He's been on the program for 2 years. I don't think he's had 5, not even that many matches against guys just to put him over. Daniel Garcia, we've never heard of before in the wrestling business. And he suddenly appears, 3 weeks ago, and he's in multiple segments on every program where he just comes out and kicks the shit out of people. Look old Daniel Garcia up. Where the fuck did he come from? And does he know any donkeys in Tijuana? While you're looking him up, Officer Bar Brady did an interview with Ty Conti where the bunny came in and interrupted, and they did a horrible promo and then had a phony-looking girl fight in the back. Because we haven't had any of those fights in the back in, several segments. Anyway, FTR had a package. If this is indeed it, they still want Santana and Ortiz one more time. They got a whole minute on television between what they were allowed to say and the highlights of their shitty ring nearly ending Cash Wheeler's career. I think that Tony ought to keep an eye on this, because if you give these guys a whole 60 seconds on fucking TV every couple of weeks, that's just ridiculous. Nobody deserves that much TV time.
It appears that they're starting to cut the best promos of their career. So why not just clip them and show them in pieces so they make no sense?
Yeah, I'd love to see everything that they said, because they look like they meant what we did see. Have you come up with anything on Daniel Garcia?
Nothing firm other than he's a wrestler and a college graduate from Buffalo, New York.
Well, you just asked if anybody graduated college. Maybe next week he'll be in the Varsity Blondes.
It's in his actual profile here. Wrestler, college graduate.
Does he have a Wikipedia?
He does not.
His name doesn't pop up on any results of any events.
All right, here he is.
Before 3 weeks ago.
He was born in 1998. His championships and accomplishments include the C4 Championship for Capital City Championship Combat, as well as the ESW Heavyweight Championship, Empire State Wrestling, and Limitless Wrestling. He was their world champion also. Trained by Pepper Parks. That's the Blade, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, here you go. So he knows somebody.
And Buffalo. Isn't that where the Butcher and the Blade were from? Upstate New York. But he's been good.
I think that's what the Butcher and the Blade were slaughtering, was Buffalo.
Time will tell, and he's skinny, and like you said, whether he's good or not, we've seen a whole lot of him in 2.0 the last few weeks. Time will tell. He hasn't done anything that bothered me yet, so I'm not going to complain.
No, I'm not even, that's why I said I'm not knocking him. I'm gobsmacked that we get these former mainstream television stars that come into big fanfare and they disappear, and all of a sudden this guy we've never heard of is in multiple segments on every show. And I'm like, what the fuck? Anyway,